Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching us from. You are on to the program where we review major news that made the headline across southern Nigeria in the past week. My name is Amzat. With me,
And I'm Louis, stating for our top-notch news review for the week.
welcome back. Straight to the news review, Louis. Last week, precisely on Sunday, we heard news of arrests of some persons that participated in the protests that turned violent in Epoma. And again, we had Edo State Governor ordering the immediate release of the students among those that protested at Epoma, vowing that those that are involved must face justice. Your response to that development, Louis?
I would say what really transpired, there have been a lot of reactions as regards to the incidents at Ekpoma. Actually, it was supposed to be a peaceful protest, but you know how it has always been most of the times. Protests sometimes turn violent, sometimes, but that is why the security operatives would have been much more proactive instead of the reactive approach, trying to silence the protesters. And again, I will always say we find ourselves in a country where governments don't take things too seriously, or rather, they don't take things seriously until it escalates. So I believe if the government had listened, or if they had shown interest in what has been going on in this area, I believe the protests wouldn't have happened in the first place. But in fact, we've heard of residents in this area complaining, venting out their displeasure, but the government seems like they were not paying attention to all what was going on. And again, like I always say, when there's what we call freedom of assembly, peaceful assembly, you see, we have, in fact, when protests, or rather when people feel, when they feel unhappy with the system, or when they are not happy, the best way for them to express their displeasure is peaceful demonstration is part of it. But in a situation where sometimes when this happens, or rather when the government hears of protest, first thing that comes to their mind is the protest is going to escalate or degenerate into a chaotic situation. Then the government should not even allow youth. You know, when you have a protest being organized by youth, knowing fully where the kind of society we find ourselves, we have a whole lot of youth who are jobless, who probably some might want to use that opportunity to vent their anger. You understand? So they want to vent, they do this irresponsibly, because some of them might not even know the reason for the protest. Once they see people gather with placards, they believe they turn it to a riot, and this is not too cool. I know the government, they have every right to call off, probably to say, okay, for protest, when it comes to protest, they have the right to call off protest, or to say protest shouldn't hold, only when they find out, or when they, through intelligence, they discover that this protest is going to degenerate into a chaotic situation. Then they can say, okay, this protest can be suspended, or this protest should be put to should be called off. But without no reasonable, if there's no, if they don't have a good reason, and if there's nothing of such, maybe if there's no reason why they should do that, then there's no need to call off or to stop a protest. Doing that is just like you're trying to silence the people who are coming out to genuinely express their displeasure. And again, in the area of arrests, you see how so many persons were even arrested, and from what we gathered, the people who were arrested were not even arrested at the scene of the protest. So I say that arrest it was an arbitrary arrest. It was against the law, and I would say it was an abuse of power. So I believe the government should really see how they can create an avenue for peaceful demonstration. Anytime demonstration like this comes up, they should try as much as possible to ensure that they secure the protesters, that they guide the protesters and ensure that these things does not degenerate to the level it's degenerated to. So the government have a whole lot of role to play. The government must sit up and see how they can address issues before it turns into a chaotic situation, not when it has happened, they now starts to react. So the government should be proactive and attend to the needs of the citizens before it gets out of hand.
Yeah, exactly. They should be proactive and attend to the needs of citizens before it escalates into another situation that that we have to be investing a whole lot of resources to control. It's unfortunate that the protests have to degenerate into violence, like we gathered over the week that some indigents who were protesting the rising case of insecurity, especially kidnapping in those central, especially right there at Epoma. Who are we going to fault or blame if not the police led by the current CP, talking about Monday Agbonika, because the situation that have to do with insecurity in Edo State did not start today. The fact that they got hints or we were notified that a protest is going to happen right there at Epoma or anywhere in Edo State, it is instructive that the police ought to have been on ground to ensure the security of lives and property, especially for the lives of the protesters, because it is their right, according to Section 40 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, to so assemble and protest peacefully. But the police fail to do that and allow the protest escalate into a chaotic situation, like you highlighted, where businesses were raised down by irate youths. Now the police was not even on ground while this lasted. The police went further after the whole place had been raised down, the damage had been done. Police now went from students who were asleep, going to homes, picking up people they suspected to be part of those that rioted, because it degenerated beyond the peaceful protest that destroyed properties. But in this case, we are saying that it ought not to have been so, because the police ought to have been proactive instead of reactive. So in this case, it's a failure of leadership, because first, if the government was able to play the role, I don't think there would have been reason for protests over insecurity in the first place. And yes, the old protests have taken place. By this time, like I highlighted in our Pidgin English program, the Civic Enlightenment program, we codenamed the Plain Talk on Citizen Rights and Responsibilities, where we deliver in Pidgin English. I recall I called for the resignation of the Commissioner of Police, Monday Agbonika, because it was a failure on his part to have prevented what happened right there at Epoma And on the part of the state government, showed irresponsibility, lack of concern for the welfare of citizens. Because if they have the citizens at heart, I don't think by now we will still have Monday Agbonika as the commissioner of police in Edo State. But he's still there enjoying taxpayers' money, enjoying those people money that he has failed to protect their lives and properties, to protect them while they embark on their peaceful protest. Yes, the governor went as far as calling for the release of especially students that were arrested and were detained at the police station and later tried at the court and were remanded. That what the governor has done, talking about Monday Okpebholo, an irresponsible action to have allowed the commissioner to remain and to have allowed citizens of the state to have been punished, arrested arbitrarily and incarcerated illegally. In this case, we will say that the state government don't need to make amends because he has so far, talking about the governor, has so far gone as far as replacing the billboards of President Bola Tinubu. But what about those that were arrested arbitrarily, they were detained illegally? What plans for compensation for these ones? So we are saying that the state government once more should prioritize the welfare of citizens over political interests and ensure that what led to the protests in the first place, talking about insecurity, is nipped in the bud. Not just in Eboma, in Edo Central or Edo North, where we are experiencing similar case of kidnappings, and some other parts of the state. Ensure that Edo people, wherever they are, like I always hammered, they should be well protected, ensure their properties, their lives are safe, because that is the core responsibility of every responsible government. Louis, also in the week under review, there was public outcry over the 65 luxury cars that were donated to traditional rulers in Delta State by the governor, Sheriff Oburiwori. Your reaction?
Well, Hamzat, you see, when it comes to issues as pertaining to Nigeria government and politics, especially when you look at our political office holders, sometimes you get to imagine what is even how they come up with policies, or how they come up with their decisions. So if really they take our time to really ponder on it, because when I took our time to, in fact, the cost of those cars is valued at over 10 billion naira. And I had to look at the budget of Delta State's budget for the year, it's over 1.7 trillion. And I was like, okay, good. Now I took our time, I looked at various allocations in that budget. But something, I always talk about youth empowerment. I'm one of, in fact, I'm an advocate. Yes, I'm an advocate for youth empowerment, because I discovered that a whole lot of the problem we face as a nation is because of youth, unemployed youth. Youths are on the streets trying to fend for themselves, no social welfare package. Nothing of such is being considered by the government. But sometimes you see the government frivolous expenses with flagrant disregard for the population. Now, Delta State is a population of over 5 million with a youthful population of over 3 million. Now, what I looked at the budget, there's no place for youth empowerment. Rather, what we have there is for social protection, social welfare, to help small businesses, like kind of just social welfare and social protection packages. And Under that same area, you have youth empowerment is included. And how much was budgeted for this? 20 billion. Now, how much was the cost of those cars? 10 billion. So are you saying you are looking at social protection? You earmarked 20 billion for social protection, social welfare package for vulnerable citizens, poverty alleviation. You say you are saying you want to use 20 billion for poverty alleviation, and you are spending over 10 billion for the purchase of just 65 vehicles. And now I took a look at the cost of those cars. You know, those cars at the least is between the range of 150 160 million for some of those cars. Now I took out time. A civil servant who is earning a minimum wage of 70,000, we have to spend 190 years to save. We save the whole of the salary for 190 years before he or she can get that car. Meaning, you are not talking of a transportation feeding cost. It is 70,000 naira. That's 840,000 annually. We will have to save for 190 years to purchase one of those vehicles. I was like, what is really going on? These traditional rulers that were giving these vehicles, now they will not even talk about development in their community anymore. Because ordinarily they are supposed to be an eye for their community, draw the attention of the government, like, oh, this is what we are going through, this is what my community needs, this, my community needs that. Oh, but how will they now pursue this course? It's not possible. It will be difficult, because now with that car already, it's just like they will be silenced. They will no longer speak true to government. So I believe the government is not supposed to be doling out cars. Like, I believe these traditional rulers they are on government payroll. So what's the essence of these cars? So this the money that was appropriated for this would have been spent on youths, a youthful population of over 3 million, with so many youths unemployed, so many youths hungry. We have hungry youths, and the government should be worried about this, because they know fully well that when the youths are restless, when the youths are hungry, they become angry, and this can lead to youth restiveness. And this is why most of the time you have a whole lot of youth engaging in social vices, because they are not empowered. But you can use 10 points, over 10 billion for purchasing of cars for traditional rulers, just 65 cars. I believe, in fact, I think that is misplaced priority at its peak. So the government, they need to sit down and they need to do better. They need to pay attention to what is important. And also, because when the youth are empowered, the economy will grow. It will boost the economy, it will boost, in fact, the socio-economic life of that society will be vibrant. So I believe the government need to take our time to spending on things that are important, things that will bring better return. Because these cars are what it doesn't bring, there's no benefit that comes from it. So the government should really do better. In fact, they should do better.
They should do better, exactly. But before they do better in doing better, they must always, at all times, adhere to the prioritizing the welfare of every citizen. We know, yes, the traditional rulers are part of the citizens, but now gifting 65 luxury cars at the rate of talking about more than 10 billion, I think is a misplaced priority. It shows a government who is not in tune with economic realities. Because currently today in Nigeria, southern Nigeria, especially the Niger Delta, down here to Delta State, you see here we'll talk about insecurity is rife. Why? What's fueling insecurity? Unemployment is fueling insecurity, youth restiveness. But the government here fail to invest such resources in ensuring that our communities have what we call skill acquisition programs, where we train young people
Yeah.
to be empowered. Then at the end, we set them up with startup packs.
Yeah.
That funds will go a long way in doing
Better.
that. But no, the governor Sheriff Oborevwori-led government decided to prioritize political interest. The politics should not be mixed with the welfare of the people. If you are playing politics, you should not play politics with public funds, because in this case, it's as if the Delta State governor is insulting the people of the state, telling them that you don't matter, my interests matter most, so I can do whatever I want with the taxpayers' money. I can do whatever I want with Delta State money. I think at this time that is not what we're supposed to be experiencing or hearing from a state like Delta, that still have a rising case of insecurity fueled by unemployment, because we still have an high rate of poverty in the land, where we still have a dilapidated institution, we still have schools that still demand the government's attention. We are talking about gifting cars. And if you see most of these communities that are being headed by the traditional rulers, they don't even have motorable roads. And this card going to buy fear, this card
To be maintained.
will be maintained with whose fund? Where are the traditionals going to? Instead of police their domain, they want to drive big cars. Should not be their duty. Their duty should be to police their domain, especially in this time we are talking about insecurity, to work in synergy with the state government to ensure peace, that will further attract development. And again, if this fund can be even used to put some amenities in place that can attract private investment in these areas that are being headed by the traditional rulers, I think it will still be the CSR, the corporate social responsibility of this private institution or private firm that may take advantage of the peaceful environment to invest. It will be their CSR or their corporate social responsibility to even provide what is even more than cars to the traditional rulers, where they will complement government to provide water facilities, build health centers and other amenities. But in this case, that is not what we are seeing in Delta. We are seeing personal interests prioritized over the people's interests.
Yeah. Hamzat, another thriller during the week. Where else, if not the River State and its drama, River State lawmakers and their drama. Now, just during the week, there was a news. In fact, it started last week anyway, but this week it turned a new dimension where some members of the House, 4 members of the House, were formally speaking for Fubara. They moved for a political solution, but later they came back and they say no, impeachment must stand. So I don't know the reason for this drama. So I don't know what do you have to say, because this really is, this drama is not ending soon.
Wow, like you said, it's purely a drama,
Yeah.
a political drama unending. Don't want to end. This is what led to the state of emergency that was declared last year, that lasted for 6 months. And if you recall, this impeachment move by the Martin Amaule led Rivers State House of Assembly is the 3rd time that they are attempting to impeach the governor of Rivers State, talking about Sim Fubara and his deputy. And for the first and the second time, it has been President Bola Tinubu who have come for the governor's rescue, that have ensured that the impeachment move never saw the light of the day. And one of such moves was the declaration of a state of emergency, and that went a long way to restore normalcy So we expected that after the restoration of democratic governance, we expected there will be peace.
Yeah.
Governance will go on as usual, but no, that is not the case. The Martin and Maole led House of Assembly said no, Fubara have committed gross misconduct that should be investigated, maybe probably led to his impeachment. But last week we thought maybe it is just their business as usual, they are going to resolve. That was after the four lawmakers decided to say they don't want to be part of the impeachment move, that their colleague should tamper justice with mercy, that they should deploy what they call a political solution to the issue. But the same week, it was surprising that the same lawmakers came outside again to say no, the impeachment must go on. They told us what they are doing was in the interest of the people, was in line with the constitution. But you left the constitution alone, you left the people's interest, they did not go on with the impeachment, and they said, okay, let us go to political solution. But now you are saying no to political solution, the impeachment must stand. Are you now saying that it is not the people's interest? It is now your own interest, because that is what the lawmakers that are saying that they are no longer on the side of Fubara, that the impeachment should move. It's as if that has become their stand, that all what they are doing right there at the Rivers State House of Assembly, led by Martin and Maole, it is in their own selfish interest. Because I see no reason why you made mention of the people's interest, you made mention of what you guys want to do as regarding the impeachment process have to do with the Constitution of the Republic of Nigeria, then you are reprobating and rebating. I think it's, I will call it a legislative rascality. It is a abuse of a legislative process, because you cannot be bargaining with impeachment threats with your own personal interest. Because listening to Silvanus Ako, the minority leader, yesterday, after he rescinded his decision to back Fubara, you will see that those guys right there at the Rivers State House of Assembly, they don't really mean well for the people. Because you cannot be saying that, oh, your colleague should tamper justice with mercy and not go with the impeachment move, and you still come back and say you are supporting an impeachment move solely because you feel that the governor's aides or supporters of the governors are through the media are smearing your image or are insulting you, or so to speak, or you feel they are attacking you via the media. I think the laws are there. If you feel, not just because they are Fubara supporters or whoever they are, if you feel that anybody has smeared your image or have violated the laws by way of going as far as talking down on you, smearing your reputation, I think the laws are there for you to explore. Not taking it upon yourself to say because you were insulted on social media, you are no longer backing the governor not to be impeached. So it just further shows that those persons are just, they're talking about the lawmakers because we cannot call them honorable. You see the way I mentioned Silvanus Ako, because I cannot say Silvanus Ako is an honorable, and that will I say Major Jack, the majority leader in Rivers State Assembly right there, is an honorable, because that is not how lawmaker should behave. Driving, prioritizing your personal interest over the people's interest, over your constituents who have elected you to go right there at the Rivers State Assembly to represent their interest. We think at this time the lawmakers should retrace their steps and realize that the Rivers State Assembly is not their father's house. The business of legislation in Rivers State is not their business. It is the business of the people. It is a democratic business wherein whatever they do, whatever action they are carrying out in the name of the Rivers State House of Assembly should be geared towards the people's interest. It should be because the people want it so. Because again, the way it is going now, it now seems as if during then when we have an emergency rule right there in River State, it is then we enjoy normalcy. Now that they are back to democratic governance, we are experiencing the chaos. Are we now saying another state of emergency should be declared? No, because we are in a democracy. But the way we currently become, the way the situation is now in River State, it's as if the Almighty Amaule led out of assembly don't want peace. They don't want Rivers to move forward. They don't want Governor Fubara to govern the people of River State. They just want chaos, all because of their treacherous interest. So I will use this medium to appeal to them to ensure democratic governance is in place in River State, because what we are seeing right there is just personal interest at play. They should allow democracy play over their own selfish interest so that the people once again can experience the dividends of democracy. Because what they are currently dishing out right there in River State is as if they are punishing the people who are, since 2023, when Fubara was sworn as governor, are yet to see a smooth democratic governance go on without, you see, this rancor between the State House of Assembly and the River State government, talking about the legislative arm and the executive arm. I think it's high time these two essential, important arm of government, mend fences, come together in the interest of River State people so that peace can once again come and development can begin.
Yes, like you said, legislative rascality, that's the word to be used for these members. You see, they are no longer acting honorably. Their actions are dishonorable. Yes, I agree. I concur with that very well, because if you look at, I was a kind of I felt during the week, I was like, wow, very soon it's like we are going to be, we are getting to the end of the road as pertains to this politics, this political upheaval in River State, when four members comprises of Silvanus Wanko, the likes of Silvanus Wanko from Degema constituency. We had Peter Abe from Silvanus Wanko from Omuma constituency. Then Peter Abe from Degema constituency. We had Emilia Amadi from Obiako 2 constituency, and Wanko Berile from Kana 1 constituency. These four members at the during the week, they opted for political solution to put an end to the political drama, the political upheaval in the state. So I was like, wow, this is a good one. At least they are trying to see that they have to look out for the betterment of the state. They have to look out for the interests of the populace, not just their personal interests. Thank God they are now coming together at least they are trying to reconcile their differences. I was happy. I was saying, oh, at least we can say we can stop talking about this whole issue and face governance in River State. But unfortunately, these four members came out again. It was, to me, I would say it was a show of shame, coming out to say, no, we are no longer accepted. We are no longer on the ground of political solution. The impeachment must stand.
Oh.
That is, to me, it's legislative rascality at its peak. It shows abuse of legislative power. What I saw there was just like they're trying to use the legislature, or rather their legislative power,
To bargain.
To bargain.
Their selfish interest.
Their selfish interest. It's not like they are not looking out for public interest. And I was like, these persons is like they've forgotten that they were elected. Or is it that they were all handpicked? These members of the House of Assembly, don't they have constituents, or rather, what is going on? Where are the people silent on issues like this? The business of Rivers State is for the people, not for few persons because you happen to be have legislative power. You are not using it for your personal interest. No, we should not allow these people continue to use the legislative arm as their property. It's not for them. The power does not belong to them. The power belongs to the people. So whatsoever they are doing now, it all boils down to selfish interest. And as it stands, it's now very clear that everything that is going on there, in fact, there's so much that the Rivers people are still not aware of, because we don't really know what they are fighting about, because in fact, it is beyond what we are really seeing. So there's a whole lot they need to tell the people, or tell the constituents, because they owe the constituents explanation as to this rascality. So at least I would say, if this persists, I believe the judiciary will look into this issue. And once that is done, it will also limit the powers of the legislature, because now they are overriding their power.
Exactly.
And they fail to understand that the more they persist, or the more they continue with this, the more they are making themselves look like they are bringing themselves to the public. They made the public know fully well that all what they are doing is selfish. And once that message has been sent already, it will be a very, very, very bad. It's going to send a very bad signal to the people. And once the people get this message, and once they get this, they get this conviction that, oh, these people, they are not for us, they are for their own self. It could even lead to public. It could lead to public outcry. It could lead to demonstrations in the state, because for some time now, when it comes to governance in Rivers State, have been, in fact, crippled. They have been put to a halt, and people are watching. I believe they will not watch for too long. Soon, they will march to the streets to protest, because that is what is needed at this time.
Exactly, because I believe that is where the court comes in.
Yes.
Because as Friday, the Rivers State High Court have already barred the Matthew Amaole-led House of Assembly.
That's it.
From proceeding with the impeachment process.
So certainly.
Not just that, it bars the Chief Judge of the state from acting on any correspondence from the Rivers State House of Assembly that will lead to the impeachment or investigation or the allegations raised by the House. I think somehow the people have spoken through the judiciary, because as it stands now, we cannot afford further crisis in Rivers State.
Yes. Makoko, the Venice of Africa, disappearing before our eyes. What I don't know how to say this. I really feel for the occupants, for the people who have lived for centuries in this area. So I don't know. In fact, when I saw the news about the demolition, I was touched, because I felt sorry for the people of Makoko, because Makoko is a place that I've been for it's an age-long settlement. Yeah. So I don't know. So the story of Makoko demolition is really touching. So what do you have to say?
Well, like you rightly said, it's touching. It's touching, and it was expected, considering that Lagos State is projecting their policy that has to do with Lagos State being a mega city. So they just want to further put that on ground, not just on paper, because the demolition that are so far going on in Lagos State is not just Makoko, so to speak, but other areas like Woronishiki and other areas that will further dent that mega city, Lagos mega city status. They just want to clean that dent in the guise of what they call public safety. But I think in doing so, the government ought to prioritize the welfare of inhabitants living in these areas that they must have seen as locations that will further dent the mega city status of Lagos State. They would have considered where, how are we going to manage these people, because take it or leave it, they still form residents of Lagos State. They still form citizens of Nigeria. Yes, the Lagos State government have come out to tell us that the exercise is as a result of encroachment, or so to speak, or raising their structures under what they term as high tension pipe, power line, that for safety reasons they have to take out those structures from the place. Benga Motosho, the Information Commissioner of Lagos State, saying that yes, they went into consultation with the leaders of the community, where they appealed to them that the state government should allow them stay at least 30 meters away from the power line. That as time goes on, they will see how they can correct all that. But that was not the case. That those persons, instead of that 30 meter, they still went as far as going to places where they earlier asked to evacuate. So the government of Lagos State have no other choice than to adhere to enforce the environmental laws that stipulate 250 meters far away from the line. So that is what they are carrying out, that have brought about the protests that are protests since the demolition started in late December till now, because we understand that those affected, victims, those that have lived there for centuries, have led protests to the Lagos State House of Assembly, to the government house right there in Ikeja, to see if the government can consider them and give them some time or alternative place to put up. But that has not been the case. The government have insisted that they must leave, and that place, structures right there, must be demolished. But we are saying here that in whatever the government is doing today, they should always prioritize the welfare of the people, regardless of their status, their social status, because at least they deserve a good welfare, a good treatment from the state government. Yes, like what the commissioner said, the state government cannot compensate those that are not adhere to such laws that talk about 250 meters away from the line. So in this case, we call on the state government to ensure that those that are affected, at least there are some relief for them, because it is understood that many of them, they don't have where to stay. So, but that, I think, should have happened in the first place if we have a government that is responsive to the people, because as it stands now, the government have decided to insist on that demolition and down, or whatever impact that exercise will be in the lives of those that have lived there for centuries, the place we know as the Venice of Africa. Well, it's sad, but development just need to go on. But while we do that, we should always consider the people.
Yeah, when you look at Makoko, first thing first, like you talked about the government, the reasons for the government demolition of Makoko. You understand that irrespective of the fact that the people must have not they did not take into consideration the safety measures before erecting their structures. Well, I would say first of all, what led to all of this in the first place? We'll say housing problem is one of the causes of such. And apart from housing, we also look at financial strength. Majority of the residents in these areas, they are low income earners, and they are not, if they have the resources, they will, I believe they will look for a more decent place. And we must also understand that these people also contribute, the majority of the people of the Makoko residents, they also contribute to the state GDP.
Exactly.
Because we have a lot of fishermen in these areas.
Other small business.
We have artisans.
Exactly.
And we have different kinds of people living in this place. And I would say the government, in fact, from what we gathered, residents complained of not giving enough notice, and the government not carrying out proper consultation. So I know the government will always have its side, and residents will always have its side. But whichever way it goes, you see, I wouldn't say the rest. I will be on the side of the residents as regards to that, because now a lot of the residents are homeless. Now the government, I understand that Lagos is a mega city, and the government have given reasons why Makoko should be demolished, because now Lagos immigrants, they talk about environmental hazard, health hazard, flooding, and so many others. But I also want them to understand that these people, they don't have anywhere else to go. These have been some of them, it has been like an ancestral home for them. So they've lived there for ages, and they see Makoko as their own place of heritage. So destroying Makoko and displacing these people, now as a government, what you've done, you've been able to increase, will I say, social unrest in a way, because a lot of residents in those areas will be in the streets trying to find one or two ways to stand again. And in trying to do this, they will explore every means possible.
Good.
Because as it stands now, they are under tension, under pressure. So it's not going to be easy. So for government to have if a government who is responsible, first thing you look at first of all is the social welfare of these people. In fact, in every country you have areas like this. So it's not only in Nigeria you find places like this. So I believe if the government on their own part have taken these people, I believe these people, they vote during elections.
Exactly.
Yes, they vote during elections. So which means they are recognized by the Lagos government. So if in a situation where there was social welfare package for these residents, or rather before the demolition, the government have mapped out plans on relocation of these people, it would have been very much better, because now what they've done to these people is social exclusion. I believe the government would have thought it wisely, ponder on how do we fix these people, because now they are now in the streets, and it will cause more problems. In a country where the government is trying to fight crime, fight social unrest, trying to fight insecurity, this should not be the best decision at this moment. So the government would have thought it wisely, ponder on what do we do to ensure that if we demolish Makoko, what are the alternatives? That should have been the first port of call. Now, during the week, from the southeastern part of the country, in Anambra State to be precise, His Excellency Charles Chukwuma Soludo of Anambra State made an appeal to residents of Anambra State to try as much as possible to be enlisted in the Nigeria Armed Force. So I was like, why is this coming up at this time? So I don't know, is it necessary? So what's your take on this?
You see, that is when they call for enlistment into the armed forces, we call it the clarion call.
Yeah.
And the call is coming at this time. Don't forget, in the week under review, we observed the Armed Forces Remembrance Day.
Yeah.
So it was right there at the event. The governor, during his remarks, he seized the opportunity to call on the youth, not just youth of Anambra State, but the entire Southeast region, to ensure that they enlist into the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Police, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense, the Nigerian Air Force, the Nigerian Navy, talking about the entire Nigerian Armed Forces, to ensure an equal representation of all regions in the nation's armed forces. Because it now seems as if youth from the region are yet to move on from the civil war that since ended 56 years ago. We think that call is the right call at this time, because the governor fear what he called marginalization, a self-marginalization, because that was what he was aiming at. Because it is important that when they are talking about Nigerian military architecture, there should be an equal representation. So the governor have come out to see this as an anomaly that is not supposed to be, because Nigeria is one country, one indivisible entity, where every region
Should be
equally represented, not just in the military, in all spheres of governance in Nigeria. But the Southeast region, as regarding related to the armed forces, they are being on the back seats for too long. So Soludo is using that Armed Forces Remembrance Day to push for, to advocate that it is important that the youth redirect their mind, the youth rethink, the youth seize the opportunity to fill that gap, so that the Southeastern region, like every other region, we have that representation in the nation's security architecture.
Yes, like you said, I believe what His Excellency Charles Chukwuma Soludo was trying to say was trying to ensure a lot of youth from the eastern region, or from the eastern part of Nigeria, gets enlisted, because like you said, one of the reasons I believe, like he was trying to say, is trying to ensure that there's equal representation in the Nigerian Armed Force. But I believe one of the reasons why a whole lot of persons are, a lot of youth, especially not just the eastern region, even from the southern region, are kind of they kind of shine away, or they kind of showing no interest, yeah, as regards to the military. It's because of what has been happening for some time. The fight against insurgency. A lot of youth they are scared, or probably they fear that if they get enlisted, because right now the country the security situation is heated, and nobody wants to go, and at the end of the day, maybe because nobody, for that patriotism, a whole lot of persons are scared to lose their life for the country. Maybe they are worried that at the end of the day, if they go, they might not come back. But to be a soldier, it's something that must come out. It must be, I believe, if you want to be a soldier, you want to fight for the country, it must be out of patriotism. The government trying to tell the youth to try and be enlisted, I believe that will not that is not going to change anything. It's all about personal conviction, because before you become a military personnel, you must have thought it wisely. You must have weighed the pros and the cons, because you know it's a matter of life or death, because you are fighting for the country. So it entails a whole lot of patriotism. It entails you must have the spirit of nationalism. So it must be the country first before you. So I find out that a whole lot of youth today, they don't want to look at that here, because a lot of them, they are seeing what is going on in the military. Sometimes you get news of saboteurs within the armed force. So that fear has affected so many persons getting involved. What I believe is it's all about personal conviction. It's all about interest. Like I read, why won't the governor talk about the Eastern youths getting enlisted in the customs, in the immigration, why the military? So I was like, wow, what the government is trying to say? The government is trying to look at equal representation. It's not because it's trying to be inconsiderate, but it's just looking at equal representation. I believe as time goes on, with time, it's just I don't know how it's going to be, because a whole lot in certain parts, in the eastern part, it's just, if you go to the military, you have a whole lot of the personnel there are from the northern part of Nigeria, and it's not supposed to be so. So I believe the government need to do a whole lot as regards to the military, in terms of remuneration, in terms of welfare package. I believe if the government can put all this together, better welfare package, if a soldier lost his life in battle, at the battlefront, the family were catered for. All of this a good, once the people are able to see the welfare package of military personnel, once they see that, oh, the remuneration, welfare package, and life
support for families
of personnel who are departed personnel,
it
will encourage people to join. So it's not all about just saying people should get enlisted. What are the morale? What's the morale like? Is the morale positive? Is there a positive morale? Those who are about to be enlisted, what are they seeing, or rather, what picture is the military depicting? So I believe if the military, the federal government, and the head of the military, if they can put their hands together and see how they can ensure better welfare packages for military, for soldiers, even those who are departed, the families be given scholarship, and the families being paid every month till, let's say, for life. These things will encourage people to be enlisted. You say, okay, even if I lost my life in the battlefield, I know that my family, they are safe. I know that my family, in fact, they will not suffer. They will not suffer. They will not for one day,
despite my demise,
worry about me despite my demise. I believe if that is sorted out, in fact, the government don't need to preach or don't need to talk about people being enlisted. In fact, they will even be tired of the numbers
that will turn up.
So that's what the government should.
Exactly. But I also like to add to what you rightly said regarding the fears that or what is causing the lack of interest in the youth from the southeast to enlist. Don't forget the southern part of Nigeria. We're talking about the southwest, the southeast, and the south.
Yeah.
But in the entire sixth geopolitical zone of the Federation, are you aware that it is just the southeast that we are having this report or this talk about youth refusing to enlist into the military. So, becoming a member of the armed forces, you must be ready to sacrifice your life.
It's a matter of
It's a selfless job.
Yeah.
You must be patriotic.
That's
Because
what I said.
joining the military or joining the armed forces, you are not joining there to make money. You are not joining to fight for your welfare. You are coming there to fight for the interests of your country. And mind us, let's not forget that right there in the southeast, there are still cases of secessionists who are still hiding right there in the forest because who are saying they are fighting for Biafra freedom or the independence of Biafra. By so doing, they are perpetrating evil, among which is the killing of military personnel, uniform personnel. So that have caused fear in the minds of the Southeasterners, especially the youth who believe that if they join the army today, they might be killed by their own people. Mind us, let's not forget some military personnel have been killed, they've lost their life, not just military personnel, police officers, in the course of this whole criminal struggle right there in the southeast, where they killed innocent military personnel who are out there to serve the country, but they ended up losing their life while they stepped out in the region. So that have caused so much fear in the minds of the people. So I believe that's why you are hearing that appeal. Because that's not the first time you are hearing Soludo or that Southeastern government talking about the low rate. So that's all we have for this week on our major news review that made headlines across southern Nigeria in the past week. So we are saying
Thank you for watching, until then.